Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Karla, and you've reached my FlossTube channel, KarlaBeingCrafty, where I talk about mostly cross stitch, but also other crafts that I enjoy and a little bit of life thrown in. Today is FlossTube number 189, and it is actually Wednesday, May 10th. Yes, May 10th. So welcome to those of you finding my channel for the first time. I hope that you like what you see, want to hit like and subscribe and all that good stuff. If you really like what you see, I have a super thanks button down below in the description box if you want to give a monetary tip. And if this is not your first time finding my channel, if you are one of my regular viewers, then thank you so much for coming back and spending this time with me. If you are a regular viewer, then you know that this is very weird because I don't do my videos on Wednesdays. I have a light right in my face. It's really bothering me. Okay. I don't normally do my videos on Wednesdays. I do them on Sunday mornings. And this is an aberration. And so of course my lighting is going to be slightly different because it's afternoon instead of morning. And what happened this week is I got up really nice and early on Sunday, and I thought I looked cute, and I had this great video to do, and I did a whole video. It was like an hour-long video with lots of stuff to show you guys. And then I went to go upload it and realized that my phone had no sound microphone. It was working for like talking, making a call, but it was not recording any sound. So I had to get a new phone because, you know, the phone just wasn't working. Like Siri wasn't working, nothing was working. So that was very disappointing, but here I am. I got my new phone. I got it all set up. That is not something I enjoy doing, I have to say. I know there's people who love to get new technology and are all excited when new stuff comes out, and that is just not me. I was perfectly happy with my old phone. I was due for an upgrade. My old phone was a discontinued model now. It's only like 3 years old, but, well, actually, it was an older model. My phone was only 3 years old. But I ended up getting an upgraded model, which is supposed to have a better camera and everything, so maybe the video quality will be better, which will be nice for everybody involved. But anyway, to me, it's just a pain to have to do all that stuff. But I did get the phone. I got it all set up, and here I am. I decided to go ahead and do a video in the middle of the week and just kind of try and recreate the video that I did on Sunday, because otherwise the video that I do next Sunday would be super long to try and show everything, and I didn't know that that would be a good idea. So here I am on Wednesday. It feels a little weird. I feel a little bit like a fish out of water because it's just not when my brain is ready to do it. I came home from work, and so I don't feel all like my Sunday morning fresh and perfect. I feel a little bit raggedy, but you know what? You guys will stick with me. You always do. So thank you so much for that. First thing I wanted to show anybody who's been watching for a while that I got Gigi back up. Yeah, so it's been up for well, let's see, I put it up on Friday or Saturday, so it's been up for several days with no problem. I really think that before it was too heavy for the one hook, so I put a double hook, and it seems to be working just fine. So fingers crossed that everything will stay good with that, and you can see both of them up there. I am noticing that, like, with the new video, I don't know, I feel like, I don't know if I seem closer or further away. I don't know. This is going to be a little bit of a learning curve for me, so bear with me, you guys. Let's see. One thing that did happen on Sunday afternoon was I was able to have a Zoom with some stitchy friends, and I had no problems with it, so that is great. So the next Zoom that I have scheduled is for Saturday, May 27th at 5 o'clock Pacific time. I hope you guys will join me. I have the information listed in the box below. So yeah, please do join. This past Sunday was a smaller group, which I kind of expected because I had only announced that I was going to have it like a week before, but we had about 6 people. It was really fun. I was so happy to be able to participate, which I haven't been able to do for the last 2 months because I was having so much problems trying to do Zoom on my Chromebook, which just didn't work. So I got, as I said, I got a PC laptop, a refurbished one, and pretty much I'm just using it, going to use it for Zoom, and it worked fine. So that was good. But let's see. I don't have a lot to talk about as far as like, you know, as I said, I'm not in my Sunday morning telling you all about the week mode. Basically, I don't remember what happened last week now. So let's just get into all of the goodies I have to show you, because I actually do have quite a few things that I worked on last week to show you. I worked on my little golden book journals too. I realized like it's May and I have books that were promised for my Floss Nika winners. And it's like, if I don't get on this, now I did put a deadline for myself for the end of the year. So, and I warned everybody multiple times that do not expect them earlier because I'm giving myself the whole year to do them. But still, I don't want to get down to like the last week or so and be like, you know, going crazy. So I was able to work on stuff. Now, the stuff that I did this past week is not necessarily really super exciting for me to share with you, because it's more of the foundation stuff. It's like building a house and decorating it, right? All of the laying the bricks and putting the studs up and everything is not super exciting to show. And as sort of crafty type people, we like the end, you know, decorating part better. But you know, you got to do that foundation stuff first. So that's what I did. I showed you guys before that I started on these sort of mini journal things that are going to be included in the journals, in the little golden book journals. So I folded all of these papers to make these sort of like continuous journal things. But they need to have signatures in them eventually. So I cut some steno books up to make all of these little signatures. So I have a whole stack of those. So, you know, it's like another step in this process. So that is one little thing that I did. And then the sort of big thing that I did was that I was able to go through all of the books for the winners. Plus, I found that I had several others that I kind of had started the process. So I was able to do this sort of first step, which is to kind of take the books apart and do what I call the cover work. So, and I'll give you a demo of what I did. I pulled a book. Where did I put it? I just did this like 2 minutes ago. I pulled a book to show you guys. So anyway, what I do is I take the books apart, and I will show you that in just a second. I take the books apart, so I separate them out. I take the signatures out. The signatures are these any pages inside a book. The signatures are the parts that are kind of like folded together, and then so like in each little golden book there's 2 signatures. So you know, each piece of paper, right, is the beginning and the end of the signature, and then it goes towards the middle, if that makes sense. So I tear those out. I have to deal with the staple. And hold on just a second. This is going to make me crazy that I don't know what I just did with that. That extra book. I just pulled it. Oh my goodness. Oh, there it is. Okay. Forgive me, you guys. Okay. So here we have a Lady and the Tramp book, which is intact. So what I do in order to get the book ready to be turned into a journal is I open the book up to, usually I do this from the back cover because little golden books are put together. There's 2 signatures and there's 2 staples. So the front of the staples is on the front cover, the back of the staples is the back cover. So I want to pull it from the back cover side. So I'll open the book up like this, and then very gently but firmly, I just pull the spine, because what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to release like the back cover from the staples, like that. Then I take the 2 signatures and I gently lift them off of the staples. Like that. Okay, so there we have our 2 signatures. And I leave those intact. I do use the full signatures, the pages in my journals. I just surround them with other papers, but all of the entire book is actually contained within my book. So then I'm left with the cover and these 2 staples sticking out, which are, you know, sharp and not fun. So what we have to do with those is smush them down. So here is another book kind of in that process. So I take a tool, which is actually just a regular screwdriver, but this has kind of like a rubbery handle, and this end is kind of, it's hard plastic, but it's not super hard. And I just put this on my desk and I kind of press down the staples so that they're not pokey, and then I kind of, you know, pound them a little bit to get it flat as possible. So once I do that, I cut the spine, or cut the gold tape part as much in the middle as I can. This is the point where if I have any lifting of any part of the covers, I will glue those. And then once I cut them in half, I take my glue and I just put a little bead across the edge and just press down my gold foil, or red or silver or whatever it is on that particular book, but they're usually gold. Because for me, the little golden, having that gold strip, whether it's distressed because it's an older book or not, it's important to keep that strip intact, because to me that's part of the charm of the little golden book. I've seen other designers who take that strip off, or cut the book at this point and get rid of that whole golden book thing. But to me, it's like, well, that's part of the charm of the little golden book, is the golden strip. So I don't want to lose that. I saw somebody else who made her books, and actually I thought this was really cool, and I did consider it for a while. But how she made her books is she would take the signatures out and then take and where the book bends, she would do it like this and make that whole back the spine of her journal. And I think that's really cool, and I really considered it, but the only problem is when you do that, you're actually shortening the dimension of the book, and you need to cut the pages. So you need to cut the edge off the pages to make them fit, otherwise they would stick out. And I didn't want to do that. I wanted to keep my pages intact, because you'd have to like cut that much off the edge of each page. And so for her, that was not a problem, but I wanted to keep all my pages intact. So I do it the way I do it. So I cut the book in half. I glue down the edge of my gold strip, and then I take a fabric tape, and this is actually like a fabric sports tape. I got like several rolls for a very cheap price on Amazon, but it's kind of like the stretchy fabric tape, sports fabric tape. And I kind of take half of a strip and I just put it along here. Partly I'm trying to cover the the staples and the staple holes, and I'm also trying to just add a little bit of strength to that bend. And then I use this opportunity to clean up anything. If there's stickers on the books or any writing, I tend to try and not use ones that have like writing or scribbling on them, but you know, if there is some markings, I try and clean those off. I just use a wet wipe kind of gently. And then the other thing I do for my covers is I put these corner pieces. I know that there's an official name for them and I don't know what they are. They're not really corner well, I mean, they are corner protectors, but I just have a box of those that I bought. I put them on. I have a rubber tipped pliers, and it's meant for jewelry making. I use that to squish that down. And then I put grommets on the front and the back, because then I add a ribbon to tie the books closed. And I have a tool that does the grommet. It's a one tool and it makes the holes, and then you put the grommets in a little washer and you use the tool, another area of the tool, to squish them closed. Which when you're doing a bunch of books, that's kind of hard. But yeah, so I did that on all of the books. Plus, as I said, I had others that were kind of like halfway through that process. And the cool thing about that, I think, is that once I get the books that are done for, you know, 2022 FlossNuka's winners, and there's 9 of those books that I'm giving away, then I will also make all these other books. And Hanukkah's early this year. It's like, I think it starts the Thanksgiving weekend. It's not actually on Thanksgiving, but I think it starts Thanksgiving weekend. And so I won't be able to do custom books, but I will be able to have some books to do as giveaways for FlossNuka this year. And I have some cool ones that I think people might like. I have a couple actual Christmas ones. That's kind of good because since Hanukkah is so early, so FlossNuka will be early, the winners of those Christmas books, if I get them out right away, will be able to have them in time for Christmas, probably. I don't know what mailing is going to be like at that point, but I have 101 Dalmatian Snow Puppies, which I believe is Christmas oriented, or it might just be winter oriented, but in either case, I have that one. I have Mickey's Christmas Carol, I believe. Yeah, I have a Mickey's Christmas Carol that I'm doing. And then there's several other assorted things. So, you know, when we get closer to that, you know, which is several months away, then I will be able to kind of make an announcement of what ones might be available for giveaways in FlossNuka videos. So anyway, that is what I did with the little golden books this past week. It was, you know, a good chunk of work to get done, and actually I was really happy that I got that done. The next step I have to do is not something exciting for you guys to see. I have to kind of make the foundation for all of the spines, because I only have, I think, about 6 or 7 that are pre-done, and I like to kind of do them all in a big chunk. So I have to do, you know, 10 to 15 more of those, and then the next step will be actually creating the spines for all of these books, which I do with this spine piece that I make out of 2 different sizes or 2 different thicknesses of cardboard. And I've learned to punch them so that when I go to sew in the signatures, it doesn't kill me. So I've learned that. So I use those pre-made, or my pre-made spines, and then I use a jelly roll strip for the fabric part. And so I'll show you all that when I get to it, but you know, that will be the next step in the process. So that is it on the little golden book update. Okay, so next thing I want to talk to you guys about is stitching. And I worked last week on like 6 different whips, so that was pretty good. I don't think I'm gonna have that this week because I just have not been in the correct mood. I do have a new start, which I talked to you guys about, which is a little dimensions kit, Prickly Owl, which I have started with Julie from Stitching at the Cabin. I did this, I started on the 1st. I don't think she did because she was just coming back from I think she was just coming back from a retreat. But anyway, she went, or no, she actually, I think she had a business trip on that day, and so she didn't take this with her. But I know that since then she started it because she texted me to let me know. So, so I'm doing this with Julie. And then actually I got this pattern from my friend Dawn Frisch from Arizona, who was one of the first people that I met in this whole FlossTube community who didn't live, you know, other than the ladies that I met up with Southern California, but none of them are really like FlossTubers. They're just stitchers. So she was, you know, the first person that I met kind of like related to my channel. So it's kind of like a double friends thing, which is kind of cool. It was a kit that came with some cream colored Aida, which I pulled. I don't really enjoy cream and white colored kit Aida as is. I love getting it because then I put it in my to be dyed stash of like white Aida and white even weave. And, you know, and it becomes the basis for something in the future. But I did have a piece of blue kit Aida that I had pulled from another project. As I said in previous videos, it's like, it was just a little bit too blah. I wanted to jazz it up a little bit. So I did dye it with a little bit of teal colored bit dye. Still didn't iron the piece, so sorry about that. But I like how it turned out, the modeling, and I got this start of the little orange flower and part of the cactus. So that was my new start. What are you doing? I got a kitty down here who's just rolling around, showing me his tummy, which in kitty language means I trust you and love you. Okay, I worked on my mini flower kitty, which is a mini heaven and earth design pattern. Artwork by Jeremiah Kempner. Haven't worked on this in quite a while because it just wasn't in, you know, the themes that I've been doing the last couple months. So it was fun to get back to it because I really like this project. And I got, you know, a nice little chunk of a diagonal done. I just love the watercolor softness of this pattern. And every time I kind of get into a section that's like a new sort of color, like right here, a little bit of greens are coming in and stuff. I find that really kind of exciting. So this one's really fun to work on. Okay. Next, I worked on, my panda and bird on the bamboo backgrounds fabric. And this is actually the kit that blue fabric came out of. So this is the pandas that I'm going to be doing. And then the birds are Gouldian finches. That's just a pattern I got from Etsy, from Hawthorne Tree Designs. And so the story behind this pattern is I got the background fabric and really loved it, and so I had to find something to go with it. And so I thought pandas would be great. I searched for a panda project and I found that little kit on eBay for a couple bucks. So I got that and I started working on pandas, and I realized that the pandas are super cute, but they're going to be small on this big piece of fabric. Like the pandas are only probably going to go to here. So I felt like, okay, it needs something else. So I went searching on the internet to find out what birds live in bamboo forests, and those Gouldian finches do. So I thought, okay, that would be acceptable. So when I get the pandas in, then I can figure out where I want to put a couple birds. So that's where I am on that one. It is warm in here this afternoon, so forgive me if I start to get a little gluey. I worked on my little snapdragon this week. This is a custom crafts pattern designed by Diane Allaire. There is another dragon, sort of a companion piece to this one. It's more of like a Chinese type dragon on a daisy. But I almost got it, but it was like, you know what? It didn't light my fire. So I thought, no, I will just stick with this one, because there's lots of other dragons when I want to be into dragons that I can find that are a little more exciting for me. So with this one, I had done like the top of this wing and everything last time I stitched on it, and there was a bunch of, not necessarily ninja stitches, but you know, holes in this wing. So I basically filled all those in and brought the threads, you know, over for all those colors, and then I worked down here a little bit and started working in that other wing. So I think next time I work on it, I might work on the flowers, because I try and, like with patterns like this, I try and balance it. Like I don't want to get the dragon all done and then be like, eh, I'm not interested in working on the flowers now, because the fun part is done. So I want to kind of balance it, make sure that I'm kind of getting it all worked on all at once, kind of, or alternating, so that it, I don't know if that's making any sense to you guys, but just so my enthusiasm to work on it doesn't wane. Okay, this chart that I worked on is Calendar Cats. I'm working on the spring one, which is the green one. And this is a chart from the Art of Edie Harper. It's under Counted Collection is the company, I guess. Edie Harper was the wife of Charlie Harper, so they had very similar art styles. And I saw that pattern on eBay. I've never seen anybody else stitch it or talk about her artwork or anything, so I thought that was kind of cool. And I dyed 4 pieces of, I think, 18 count Aida. And I'm working on spring, which is the endless white cat. So I finished all of the green stems and leaves at the top. I did this flower, and I think this flower I started. I finished sort of a flower and a half down here, started in on the eyes, and did a little bit of the white stitching in here. So these are a lot more stitching than they seem to be. A lot more stitching than they look like. They're tiny little patterns, and they're not. And I think part of it's because I got it on pretty small fabric, or you know, high count fabric. But yeah. Okay, and then last but not least in my stitching this past week is Sampler au Chat by Jardin Privé. And I'm doing this on, I think it's a 20 count Aida. And I'm doing it with sulky thread. I've got a variegated sulky for the main stuff. And then I'm using purple for the cats and this sort of rose pink for all these other little icons. And I'm well over halfway done on this. I really want to get this done this year. So this past week I finished this box. I think I had one of these sort of thistle flowers done, but the other one wasn't done at all. So I did that. And then I started on this sort of lace motif. So yeah, if you figure halfway mark is like right in the middle of the tree, I'm definitely more than halfway. I'd say maybe 2/3. So I think it is possible to get this done this year, especially if towards the end of the year it'll go on my November and December, like push to the finish, and I'm pretty sure I'll get it done. I did make one change on this. This was an alphabet, just a regular alphabet here. This is like my only sampler type thing with all the alphabets and everything, and I really like it on this one, but alphabets are not something that, like, I'm not a sampler person, but I really liked this chart, so I figured, you know, there's an exception to every rule. But this was just a regular alphabet. I changed it to say Karla loves baggy, and 2020 was the year I started it. So there's also like the alphabet down here after the Z. There is kind of like a little area that is perfect to put initials and like the date of finish. So I think that's kind of cool that we'll have kind of a start date and end date on it. Okay, and that is all of my stitching for last week. But we're not done, because as anybody who's been watching me the last couple weeks knows, I'm now also obsessed with crochet. So I have some crochet things to show you. So first thing to show you is I finished my mermaid. I got her hair and finished her. So here she is. Now she's not perfect. I realize that. I realize I'm still sort of a beginner, sort of raw. So there were things that I learned making her. One of the reasons that she has the pearl necklace on is because although I did put the pipe cleaner in the neck that was recommended, I probably in future when I make another one, I need to use probably more than a pipe cleaner, or like put 2 pipe cleaners twisted together, because when I put all of this hair on her, which I'm likely to do again on any future mermaids, is to put a lot of this sort of heavy hair, her neck was like getting, you know, like when you have a lot of hair and you wear it in a ponytail and it kind of hurts your neck, that's what was happening to her. So I used some wire on the outside of her neck to kind of support her neck, and then of course it was ugly wire around her neck, so I had to do something. So I put a necklace on her. The other thing is like, now the pattern calls for just like the plain black button eyes, and there's no nose and mouth. So I sort of switched that up, and I used a little bit more interesting eyes, and I made a nose and a mouth, and I gotta say, I think she looks a little bit fish-like, which is okay because she's a mermaid. She's maybe not as facially beautiful as I would like her to be, but I still think she has a lot of character, and I really like her. It's just she's not as pretty as I envisioned. So I think she looks a little bit like a fish, but you know, maybe that's okay because she's a mermaid. So anyway, I definitely have, you know, room to grow and learn. But I think overall I did a really good job. I love the hair. I also found a use for blending filament that I have a bunch of it in my stash, because I got a lot in from eBay when I got like a lot of Rainbow Gallery and Kreinik. I got a bunch of like blending filament before I really knew what the differences were, and I didn't realize blending filament in cross stitching for me doesn't have a huge use, because I don't really necessarily like adding it. I'd rather use a Petite Treasure braid or a number 4 Kreinik, but I have all this blending filament, but I will be able to use it in my mermaids, either in hair or even in the dragons and stuff. I can add it to regular yarn. This yarn actually had a filament in it already, but it's really basically just a blending filament. So I can take regular yarn and add it to get a sparkly yarn. So anyway, so this is my mermaid, my first like really big Megan Lap project, and I'm pretty happy with her. I'm hoping that she turns out to be my thumbnail, but it depends on the timing. I know people always say that when they're doing FlossTube videos, it's like, I hope this is my thumbnail, and then they'll like freeze, you know, and they think like that's gonna make the algorithm pick it, but I don't think that's how it works. I think that your exact middle of your video is one snap, and then however many seconds prior and however many seconds after is the other two. I think that's how it works. But when I first did her hair, I have some like little clippy things, and I had clipped her hair up for one of the pictures that I took, and you know, so I still haven't totally decided how I want to style her hair, if I just want to let it to be loose and wild and, you know, like crazy, or if I want to tame it a little bit. But I know she's not going to be my last mermaid. So anyway, so that is my mermaid, but that wasn't the only crochet project I worked on, of course. Now you guys have seen this before, my basket, but what you don't realize is that I decided when I was working on this that, well, I realized I had made a major mistake in how I was doing it, which meant that the sides were never going to be sides, because the mistake that I made was in the corners. I was trying to do 2 stitches in 1 stitch, which is an increase, and so I was just going to end up with this like wide weird plate type thing. I also was having trouble with the side, the joining with a slip stitch and then a chain and turn. So I was kind of stitching in a spiral because I gave up on doing that. But I learned a lot doing the mermaid on how to deal with the slip stitch, chain and turn, or not even turning, but slip stitch and chain to end sort of a row. And so I learned a lot with that in the next row, you know, what you should be skipping because they're not real stitches, kind of thing. So I decided to go ahead and frog out what I had done. Again, that's one of the really nice things about crochet, is that frogging is super easy usually. And actually, I think it's kind of fun. I mean, it is destroying what you had worked on, but it's still kind of fun. So I had 2 skeins or 2 cakes of this yarn already in it when I decided to frog it. Well, almost 2 skeins. I was down to like the last 2 colors, I think. So I just went ahead and I just made a huge ball and I started over again. And I was able to recreate it within a couple of stitching sessions, because this actually does go pretty fast. So this is 2 and a bit now. I made it a little bit smaller, you know, base wise. And so I got an extra ball of this. So I have this one and then another new one so that I can make it nice and tall. So I think it looks way better than it did before. I'm glad that I went ahead and decided to frog it out and restart it, because I think now it's gonna look way better. And you can even see that the sides are actually, you know, looking like sides, where before they weren't standing up and I couldn't figure out why, and it was because I made this huge mistake. So I worked on that. I worked a little bit on this pusheen that does not seem to be, I'm not confident that this pattern, I mean, I know I'm doing it correctly, that I have the right number of stitches, but it just seems way too big for what it's supposed to be. So I don't know if I'm going to continue with that one or what. It's not anything exciting to show you guys. It's just a big gray thing, but see, it's so big, and this is only like a little bit over half of this piece, and I just don't think it's supposed to be like this big. It's supposed to be a little amigurumi. So I don't know. I think that there might be a problem with the pattern. It was a free pattern, so it might just be sort of an error thing. And then the last thing that I started working on is a newborn dragon. and I have the head completed. So that's his little head, which I know doesn't look like much yet, but that's his little head. And then his body has been started, and I don't know what kind of legs I'm going to do yet and what position I want him in, so that's something that I will have to decide when I get the body finished. But that is what I have so far. Okay, yeah, I think that was it. So, I did get a Stitchy Kindness this past week from Debbie Sisk, and May, I guess, is Mental Health Awareness Month, or I of course don't know where the card is because I did something with it after I did the video on Sunday. But she sent me a nice little card with her business card on there and a cute little needle minder that she made. It says "Don't give up" for mental health awareness. There's a SAL as well, a mental health awareness SAL or mental health May or something. I'm really not sure what the hashtag is, but I'm sure you can find it if you look it up. But she gave me this cute little needle minder, which I really, really like. And it is going to be a good reminder for me this month. With Mother's Day coming up, I know that's going to be a little bit difficult for me. And then the week after Mother's Day, my family is moving away. So I'm going to have to work really hard to keep my mental health healthy in May and not to get into the doldrums or anything. So that was from Debbie. As far as haul, last week I kind of did a little bit of binging on buying some yarn. I actually went into a Michael's, which I haven't been in store in so long, but they were having like a buy one get one 50% off sale. So I ended up going in there to get some really pretty yarns. I've got too much yarn now, definitely. But you know, I see these things and it just sparks all kinds of like ideas. So I got several of these they are Lion Brand, which I have a lot of Lion Brand. I tend to like that, but this is called Homespun, and I got it in a bunch of different colors. I got the dark purple that you saw in the mermaid, so I got that one, and then I got this green, which I think would make gorgeous mermaid hair. And then I got a bluey purpley for mermaid hair, a light purple, and then this color. And then these yarns are actually single ply, like roving yarns, and this is actually the Michael's brand, I think Loops and Threads or whatever. I just thought they were so pretty. They just sparked all kinds of like dragon images for me. And then I get a couple of these, which are also, I think, Michael's brand. And they're just kind of like shiny. So I got this like multicolored one, and then I got the one that I just showed you that I'm making the dragon out of. And yeah, I got a few other yarns that are kind of all mixed in now, but definitely I went a little bit overkill on getting yarn. I do not need any more yarn for quite a while, so I'm going to try and put a halt on buying anything else for any craft for quite a while, until my birthday at least, right? August. So I should be able to make it through August without buying more yarn or cross stitch supplies or anything like that. I should. And then we'll see if I get, you know, if I get gift cards or something for my birthday, then maybe I'll let myself buy some more. The only other thing that I got was a set of stitch markers, which are a slightly different kind. So with some of these yarn like sets that I've gotten, they've come with these stitch markers. And this, I guess, is the typical one that looks kind of like a safety pin. They're plastic and they hook. But I was having some trouble with them because, especially like on the amigurumi, I do need to mark my beginning stitch, because otherwise I'll lose my place, especially if I'm like, you know, something happens and I have to set down my stitching or whatever. And I need to know what that first stitch is, because especially, as I said, when I'm joining them and having a slip stitch and a chain one, you don't want to stitch in those are not real stitches. As Megan Lapp says in her videos, they're lying to you. So you don't want to use those, because then you're going to get your counts all off. So I do need to use a stitch marker. But if I don't hook them, then they'll fall out while I'm stitching. And hooking them is a pain when you only have like 6 or 8 or 10 stitches. So I was looking for something else, and I found these. So I got a little box of, I don't know how many is in here, 100 maybe, a small and bigger ones. And they seem so far to hold without having to hook them. I've used them in the corners of this one, and they seem to be staying in place pretty well. So I thought I would try them out. Okay, so I think that is about it. So plans for the continuing week, because we're already, you know, halfway through it. I have been stitching, I've been crocheting a little bit. I haven't crocheted any more amigurumi. I was working on my shrug on Sunday, and I also, you know, did stitching, but I'll show you all that stuff on Sunday. So it's just going to be more of the same, just stitching and crocheting. We'll see Saturday if I have the time and energy to work on little golden books. If I do, I'm probably going to just be making some more spines, and I'll show you one if I do that, but they're not exciting to see, because, you know, they're the internal structure of the spine of the books. So yeah, that is about it. My video right now is about 10 or so minutes shorter than it was last Sunday, but you know, that's fine. I think that's about it, you guys. Give me your bags. Oh, it's getting to be his dinner time, so of course he is trying to get my attention because he wants his food. He wants his food. This is Baggy, for anybody who's new. Bagheera, my very big, very snuggly and cuddly black kitty boy. So yeah, until I see you guys again, which will be just in a couple days on Sunday, I hope you have a great rest of the week, and that everything's going really well for all the mothers and pet mothers and stepmothers and motherly people. I hope you have a great Sunday morning, and I will see you sometime on Sunday. Hopefully my video will upload quickly. So until I see you again, please remember to be content, be kind, and be crafty. This is Karla and Baggy saying bye-bye.